Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. If you guys don't mind, please smash the like button on this video. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It'll push the video out to more viewers. That way more people can see this just like you've seen today. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit the notification bell, and that way YouTube can notify you as soon as a new video goes live, which we do put out several of these a day. So thank you again so much for tuning in, guys. I've got some interesting information here to share with you. Looks like we've got some leaked German military documents that came out, and it basically, these documents are outlining a scenario where Russia, by July of this year, would basically take Ukraine and defeat them. And then after they defeat Ukraine, they would declare war on NATO and ultimately push through. If you can see here on the screen, this is the Suwalki Gap. It's a patch of land, about a 62-mile patch of land between Belarus and Kaliningrad. And Kaliningrad, if you can see there up on the top left corner by the ocean, that's a small piece of land out there that's actually owned by Russia. And they're slammed in between Poland and Lithuania, and then that's why they call this a Suwalki Gap, is there's that patch of land there that would connect Belarus to Kaliningrad. And we know that Belarus is obviously an ally, a close ally to Putin, so it's basically Russian territory in a way. So if the Suwalki Gap were to get attacked, that portion of Poland could be taken, and then it could connect Kaliningrad to Belarus. Okay, so that's kind of somewhat what's outlined in these German military documents as well. So I have a article here that I want to go over, and then I'm going to have a picture that I want to show you guys that kind of, it shows like an outline, like a timetable stamp of the different events that will happen throughout this year, leading into middle of 2025, and all the steps that will lead up to war with NATO and Russia. And basically Germany is preparing for this, and along with Europe in general, which I feel like this ties in really well to what we're actually seeing. It makes sense to me that this could actually be a potential possibility because there's so much preparations for war. We have all these defense ministers coming out and warning of war with Russia. We have the Baltic states over here, as you can see on the screen. Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia. Many of these countries over there are setting up Dragon's Teeth, which are like anti-tank, like a block of cement and steel on the ground that prevents tanks from rolling through the border. So they've been setting those up. We have Finland, who just declared again recently that they are shutting down their border again with Russia. So there's so much like signs over here in preparation that Russia could be potentially attacking, Eastern Europe and NATO basically. So I want to go over this article here real quick with you guys. Let's go ahead and do this. Let me get this pulled up one moment. And it's a very interesting article, so let's go ahead and read through this here. There we go. Leaked German military documents laid out a doomsday scenario where Russia wins in Ukraine, then invades Europe. Leaked German military documents describe a chilling scenario where Russia wins in Ukraine and then goes to war with NATO. The classified documents were obtained by, Bild, a German tabloid. Bild and Business Insider share a parent company, Axel Springer. The documents proved by Germany's defense ministry imagine a situation in which Russia launches a massive spring 2024 offensive and take advantage of waning Western support. So this is happening right now. So there is waning Western support. So right now there's a $60 billion funding package being held up in Congress for Ukraine. So there is obviously waning Western support. But then this whole massive spring offensive thing, this makes sense too, because right now what do we have? We have Russia building up their forces more. I believe Putin just initiated another conscription of 500,000 troops, and so did Ukraine. So clearly they're preparing for something massive to come in the short term. And then at the end of this year, we have the potential of of Donald Trump getting back in office. And if he gets in office, it's ultimately going to affect this war. I just showed you guys a video the other day of him coming out and saying, he said this multiple times, but he basically said he'll put an end to the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, like immediately after getting in office. He'll take care of that. So again, like a lot of this, even though this is like leaked documents and it's speculation on a lot of what could happen, a lot of it really does make sense if you guys look, like, actually think about this and look at what's actually happening over there in Ukraine and Russia right now. A lot of this does match up. So let's keep going. In this scenario, it defeats Ukraine. Excuse me. The documents are not a prediction, but part of a worst-case scenario planning. A common exercise within militaries. A German official called this scenario extremely unlikely. I feel like they always say that, but then when it becomes likely and it happens, then it's no longer extremely unlikely, right? So the German documents imagine Russia turning its sights on NATO members in Eastern Europe, with it seeking to destabilize its enemies through cyber attacks and inciting internal chaos in the Baltic states of Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, which are these three countries right here. And, you know, these border Russia. This is Russia right here. Estonia, Latvia borders Russia. Lithuania borders Belarus. And then here's your Suwalki Gap, Kaliningrad right here in this section. So, okay, let's keep going here. The end goal would be to move Russian troops into the Suwalki Gap. So this section right here, guys, just like I had on the screen. Bild reported citing the documents. The gap is a 62-mile stretch of land separating Kaliningrad and Belarus. It has long been considered a weak spot in NATO's east. If occupied by Russia, it would cut the Baltic states off from other parts of Europe. Under the scenario obtained by Bild, NATO would fight Russia to prevent it from occupying the gap. NATO membership obliges states to come to each other's defense if attacked. It envisages the face-off coming to a head in early 2025, with Russia seeking to take advantage of the upheaval that could flow a new U.S. administration taking office after the 2024 election. So this is interesting too, because again, you know, like basically like a year from now, I've been stating this too, that it looks like war is going to break out sometime in the next year. Like they're saying that this is going to take up to 5 years or the next decade, but the way things are building up right now, it looks like it could easily happen in the next year or even before the election. So I thought that was interesting. They had that here. A German defense ministry spokesperson told Bild, considering different scenarios, even if they are extremely unlikely, is a part of everyday military business, especially training. The Institute for the Study of War, a U.S. think tank, noted that such documents were ordinary in military planning. It said the timeline suggested was improbable, but it added that without continued Western support in the region, Russia could indeed push as far as the borders of NATO countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Kremlin officials have long menaced NATO over its support for Ukraine. But Putin in December denied U.S. President Joe Biden's claims Russia could go to war with NATO, describing them as complete nonsense. European leaders and officials have long sounded the alarm about renewed Russian aggression against other parts of Europe if it wins in Ukraine. Jacek Siwiera, Poland's security minister, said in December that an attack could come in as little as 3 years and would likely target NATO's eastern flank. Excuse me. So, again, guys, yeah, we've got these documents coming out, and they're basically proving, or at least showcasing a scenario, outlining a scenario that Russia would eventually engage on NATO. And, I mean, to me, these documents are not too far-fetched. I mean, it's obviously very possible. And a lot of people have been speculating and wondering and being scared in many cases that there's going to be some sort of war breaking out between Russia and the United States or NATO. So who knows? We'll have to see. Time will tell. So I've got that for you. And also I have a picture here that I want you guys to look at. I think it's kind of interesting. So it basically shows in detail some more here. Let me pull it up. There it is. This shows in detail more like a timeline of events of basically what these documents are showing, what will happen throughout time, okay? So I want to add this information real quick before we just go over that. Leaked documents published by a German newspaper claim that Putin is actively preparing for World War III by expanding the scope of conflict, creating chaos in Europe next month. This involves deploying 200,000 Russian soldiers, collaborating with Belarus, launching a massive cyber attack in European countries, and inciting social unrest within the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Subsequently, direct clashes with NATO member countries are expected. According to the German documents, Putin plans to exploit the lack of Western support for Ukraine and the political vacuum in the United States during the American elections. The war is anticipated to continue until 2025 to achieve final victory. The newspaper asserts that Germany is aware of the scenario and has already begun preparing for the worst. So, again, that doesn't seem far-fetched to me. That seems like almost like what exactly the playbook would be. Okay, and I've been telling you guys this, like, so much major events are going to happen throughout this year. This year is crucial for the war in Ukraine because Ukraine and Russia are both having presidential elections. We have a presidential election this year. So many things can change. So many dynamics can change the outcome of this war. Putin obviously wants to take the entirety of Ukraine. Ukraine wants to take their country back. And I'm assuming probably even push Russia further away and continue attacking them. That seems like that's their plan as well. And then we have the U.S. presidential election coming up this year too. And if we change administrations, going from a Biden to a Trump administration, it's going to be a completely different foreign policy. And as Trump said, he will put an end to this war. Okay, so it definitely does not, like I said, it does not seem far-fetched to me. These documents, they seem pretty close to spot on, or at least is definitely the potential is there, is what I'm trying to say. The potential is there. It's very, very likely that this could be the case and this could happen, or at least something similar to this. So let's go over this picture here. You can see there, so February 2024, Russia mobilizes another 200,000 men. In the spring of 2024, which is coming up, it's right around the corner, Putin launches a new offensive in Ukraine to achieve victory by June. In the spring is generally when these offensive will happen. Okay, they'll generally happen during that time because the snow has thawed and melted, and it's a lot easier for them to roll tanks in and all kinds of stuff like that. So this is the opportunity to do that. So that makes sense to me. And then in July of this year, 2024, Russia begins wave of cyber and hybrid attacks on the West. They would have to do that to destabilize us while they attack Ukraine. Like there would have to be something like that. So that would make sense to me too. September of 2024, Russia builds up 50,000 troops in Belarus on the border with Poland and Lithuania. That's obviously in preparation to attack the Suwalki Gap and take back that strip of land that connects Kaliningrad to Belarus, which is what Putin's been wanting. He doesn't like having Kaliningrad isolated over there away from Russia. So moving on to December 2024, Putin stirs up conflict and deadly riots in the Baltics. I could see him doing that too. They do line up right on the border there, and again, like I told you, those countries right there, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're so close to Belarus and Russia right there that they are preparing. They've been setting up troops along their border. They've been closing their borders down as well. They've been setting up dragon's teeth. Like, they are preparing to be attacked, guys. Not to attack Russia. They are preparing to be attacked by Russia. Okay, so continuing on into March 2025, so about a year from now, more Russia troops move to Baltics and Belarus. And in May 2025, NATO decides on a credible deterrence. And day X, not sure what day that'll be. That'll come sometime, obviously, after May of 2025. NATO orders 300,000 soldiers to the eastern flank. That would obviously be towards the Russian border. And 30 days later, and 500,000 Russian and NATO troops face each other at the Suwalki Gap. And then, bam, what do we have there, guys? World War III. Okay, so again, these documents to me do not seem completely far-fetched. Like, maybe it might not happen to that scale exactly how it's outlined here, but they're at least preparing for this time scale of events to happen. And if you just look at what's happening, I'm not sure if these documents are designed to kind of throw the public off and maybe um, kind of decredit the idea that war could happen between Russia and NATO. So like, take away that idea basically to confuse people with the idea that that could even happen. I'm thinking maybe that could be the case, the why these are coming out, but they definitely do fall in line with what I'm seeing with what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was very interesting. But that's going to be everything that I have here for you. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave a comment down below. What do you think about this? Do you guys think this is possible that this could happen? And if so, do you think it would happen in this way? Do you think it could happen a different way? What do you think could happen from now until the election, or a year or year and a half from now? Because it's going to get very interesting on what happens here with this war with Ukraine and Russia, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But right now, I do know that Ukraine has been attacked again recently. They've had more drone strikes on their cities and missile strikes, and more cities are being attacked, especially Kharkiv right now. So I do know that the offensive looks like it's being prepared right now, and we could see by March or April or maybe even sooner that there's a large scale attack on Ukraine, and it just happens out of nowhere, and it's gonna be like a blitzkrieg style attack, and they want to catch Ukraine off guard. So we'll have to see. Hopefully you got something out of this. Thank you so much again for tuning in today, guys. I'll update you if there's any other information on this later on. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you later. Take care and God bless.